a threat.
In terms of what the commitment was made today in Jeddah, as well as the commitment that was made in Wales between the core coalition members a week and a half ago, I'm a bit confused. Nobody seems to know what is happening. You have conflicting signals coming out of the British government.
Well, actually, the British have clarified those, and I can read their quote if you'd like me to. They did clarify those, though. The Prime Minister's office clarified them.
That's great, Marie, but the Foreign Secretary in Germany came out and said, no, we're not going to be part of any airstrikes.
Well, the Prime Minister's in charge of the country and clarified, so his office
that would
did.
Include Scotland, too, right?
As I was clear yesterday.
It doesn't matter. It's confusing.
It actually does matter if they clarified, but go ahead.
Well,
go ahead with your question.
The Saudis, the White House said, your colleague Josh Earnest said, officials said last night that the Saudis had agreed to host some kind of a training base or training operations. The Saudis are not saying anything about this. In fact, their response to questions about it could be construed as a denial by some people. So it seems like this is just a kind of a real dog's breakfast, and no one knows what's going on, who's going to do what in this coalition. The Turks say they're not going to be involved in anything militarily. So I don't think you can deny that there has been some confusion, whether or not there was clarification from Downing Street or not. So is this just the result of it being early on in the process and things haven't really come together yet, or is it the result of people are just flailing around and not being able to come up with a coherent
It's certainly not
strategy?
The latter, and let me just make a few points, then I'm sure you have follow-ups. I will clarify with the language that Number 10 used today to clarify their position, and I do think it's actually important to make clear when their office does so. They said they believe ISIL must be confronted in both Iraq and Syria. In terms of air power and the like, the Prime Minister has not ruled anything out, not at the stage of taking specific decisions in further action at this point. So we should be clear about that. But I think we need to step back here. In Iraq, we have already taken military action against ISIS, and you heard the President last night talk about expanding the reasons behind doing so. There have been a number of countries, as we've done so, standing alongside us in terms of providing humanitarian assistance, providing resupply and equipment to the Iraqis and to the Kurdish forces. So there are a number of countries that have spoken very publicly already about those commitments. You have seen a concerted effort to build a broad-based coalition. It began in earnest, really, last week at the Wales NATO Summit. I just combined those two words. When we really met with our closest allies and our NATO allies, as well as others, to start talking about how they could get more involved. And then you saw the Secretary in the region this week talking to our regional partners, talking to the Iraqis who form the heart and the backbone of this coalition. Then he'll go to Paris, where you'll combine the Arab regional partners with the European partners. And then we'll all come to UNGA, where there's a global forum, a global stage where we will all come together to talk about each role that each country can play. You have already seen countries come out and make clear they will participate in this effort. Now, it's not just a military coalition. There is, as we saw today, there's things countries can do to cut off the flow of foreign fighters. There's things they can do to cut off financing. There's things they can do militarily. There's things they can do in terms of resupply and equipment. So we've already seen countries come out and say this. We sent out a 40-page document last night outlining commitments and contributions countries were going to or already making. So I'm not sure there's confusion about the fact that many countries want to contribute. What the process we are going through now, a deliberate, prudent process, talking to every country, what role can you play? What role can you play? What are we all going to do together? That process will be ongoing. But I would strongly reject the notion that for any reason that you mentioned that this is a flailing effort. Every day more countries sign up. Today more countries committed more through this communique.